Mishnah on Daf Yuzayin on top. This Mishnah, the Gemara, I'm going to talk about what we take from the Torah, Psukim, Pasha Sotah. What part of it do we write in order to have it available to erase it into the water? So the Mishnah says that Bola Lichter was a Megillah. If he comes to write the Megillah, Me'eze Mokum Hu Kaisib. From where does he start? So he says it's like Miveim Loishachav Ish V'Goyma V'At Kisotes Tachas Ishech. These are all beginnings of Psukim. Of Ve'ena Kaisav Vishbiya HaKayin. The word Vishbiya HaKayin is just like an instruction. Vishbiya HaKayin Se'isha. And V'Kaisav, he skips those few words and he writes Yitin Hashem Oisla Ha'olu Shvur. That there's a Shvur, V'Kola, Ubo Hamayim Ha'ma'orin Ma'era B'Me'ayich. Let's with bottom Rampo Yaro. Of Aina Kaisa Bomber Isha Amen Amen. That's a part of the procedure.
Because that's what she's got to do.
Yeah. If Yesi Amen, if Yesi Zok, Lahoya Mavsik. No, you don't skip anything. Once you start writing, you write the whole thing. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol Atzma Aina Kaisa. Even everything that was said before in the Mishnah, you don't write that.
Hello.
Ella Yit Nashem Oisel Ella Shvur Uba Mai Maram Egel B'Mayach V'Chulu. And V'Eina Kaisav Amaisha Amenan. You don't write the response. So we have three opinions what you write. So the Gemara, but my commitment, what is the basis for this machlokes? So Gemara says, B'Hai Krokam Mifugit, they argue in a certain pasuk. The pasuk says, because of us always Eila. HaKayin. Baseifa, so the Meya, Saba, even though the Meya is not mentioned in the Mishnah, but the Stam Tanakama is the Meya. So the Meya Saba always means always Mamish. You should write Mamish, the curses. Ha'Eila is Malba, it adds. Ha'Edeheye is in other words, for example, it says over there, Pasuk, that
on the other side of it. Rabbi Burnett, there's one more Gemara left inside. Yuzayin or not?
Kolos Machos Brachos means there's a pasuk that says Azay. The Imoy Sita Imoy Sotas Tumas Tarasisha. Hinoki Mimema Hinoki is a bracha. Be clean. So that means to say that there's a call also that if you did, then you wouldn't. So it's Malba Kol, it's Malba Bracha. Eila, the word Eila is Lamutei Klolis of the Mishnah Torah. In other words, in the Teichacha, in Devarim, the Pasuk Yisabah, there's a long Teichacha with a lot of 96 things that can happen to you. So that, has nothing to do over here. It says, Ha'ela is Lamutei Tzavois V'Kabois. Tzavois means with V'Hishbra Kohen, the Kohen should do this, she should answer this. That's not important.
Amen.
No, it's a voice of Kabbalah's Amen.
Oh.
That she's makabel by accepting it by saying Amen. So this is the Tanakama. But Rabbi Yossi says as a Kula Kida Amrit. I agree with everything what you say. But S, the word S or so the word S is l'rabbi sabos v'kabolos. I say you got to put in also the instructions v'hishba akayin and what she accepts it by saying Amen Amen. But Rabbi Meir doesn't hold that you have to put in sabos kabolos. Why? Because S and loydorish. He doesn't dash in the word S. It's a whole mess in the Gemara over there with there's Shimon Amasuni or there's called Es Shabbatayda and came to Shema Karatira Pedish, he stopped. So the May does Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda says just the opposite. Kulei, all the psukim that were used to be marbid this and marbid this, so Kulei Miyute, it's all to paket that you don't have to do. Kula miyute dorashu. He dashes everything to be mamai. And he goes on to say, always, taka means always mamash. That he agrees. But ha always is lamute koles ubrachos. Koles abois machmas brachos. What we said before from Hinoki, and if the opposite of Hinoki is a kola, so no, you don't write that. That's statement of befreide shesus. And Eila lamute kolos of a Mishnah Torah, and ha Eila lamute it's a voice b'kabolos that you don't have to put the orders v'hishbia kayin v'amra isha that you don't put. Practic Gemara, but according to Rameya, Maishna hey. The Merabi, Umayshna Hey, the Mamayit. One time when it says Ha'ela, you learn some in addition, and one time when it says Ha'ela,
you took away.
You're taking away. What make it be consistent. Zot the Gemara. Hey, the Gabi Dribuya. A hey that's written by a word, that from the word itself, when it says always we're saying means the curses. So always means more, something more. So it's called as Machmas Bracha. And hey the Gabe de Miuta, and a hey that's to be Mamayit. So you're dashing it. Always is to be Mamayit, and Ha'ala is also to be Mamayit. Practic Gemara. There's a rule in halacha by a Tanai that you have to have a Tanai kafel. You know.
Like Bnei
yeah, but so doesn't the Rameya hold that Makal Lav at Shemaya Hain? In other words, why shouldn't put in the brachas the kolas that are both machmas bracham that come from the word hinoki? Why shouldn't you put it in? Zat the Gemara, Amar Abtank answers, hinoki ksiv. In other words, it means that the word hinoki is usually should be written with a yud. A chirik, when there's a chirik, the iftar follows with a yud. But it says without a yud. So without a yud, there's many people, especially Americans, will understand this. They can't say a ches. So, Marshall, when they come to the bakery, they buy challah. It's challah. So the hay and the ches is interchangeable. So if it says hinoki, so you could read it as chinoki. So it's a kola. So that's why there isn't over here any kola bo machmas bracha. If you say you read it as hinoki, so then there's a kola bo machmas bracha. But if you read it as chinoki, it itself is a kola, but there isn't such a thing as a kola bo machmas bracha. Okay. This finishes this thing about how what you do, what you write. Now comes another interesting thing. Sot the Gemara. Dorish Rabbi Akiva Darshan. Ish v'isha zochel. If a husband and wife are zochel, Shechina b'neihem. The Shechina rests by them. Lo zochel is eisha chosam, because and what does that mean? In the word man, you have ish, right? So you have aleph yud shin. In the word isha, you have aleph shin hey. So one has a yud and one has a hey. Yud K is the Eibishter's name. So ish zacha is shchina shruya b'nei. Vi is of Amar Rava zak Rava. The isha adifa me ish. The Getlichkeit that the woman represents is stronger than the man.
The husband.
Why? No, I'm sorry. No, I made a mistake. Lo zachu, eisha chosam. If they weren't zacha, then everything gets go up in fire, because lo zachu. So the yud and the hey fall out. The yud and the hey fall out. You have eish and eish. You have two fires. So the Gemara, Amar Rava, u'de isha adipa mid ish. My timer, the woman is stronger than the man. Hi mitzaref, and hi loy mitzaref. By the woman, there's no hefsek. There's aleph shin, and the hay is at the end. But by the man, it's in the middle over there. So this is the worst. Now it's like another thing that the Gemara says. Actually, the Vel Zokta, I may have said this already. Why does it say Shechina Shri b'nei Yud K? What's with the Vav K? So they answer that the word Ksuba has a Vav and a K and an extra. Really, it should be called a Ksav, not a Ksuba. It's a Ksav. It's a written thing. And so if you don't, the difference between Ksav and Ksuba is an extra Vav K. So that's in the marriage, that's where you have the whole name of the Eibusher. Derech Agav, there's a pasuk by Yankov Avinu that Yankov said to Lavan, Tanoli Ishti, what do you say? V'avoya eleho, yeah? So Rashi says that a filo kalsha b'kalim doesn't talk that way. So Rashi says its kavanah was to have children. But still, I mean, what kind of language is that? So I once saw in a sefer, based on this Gemara over here, that the Yud and the K is, you get the Shechina when you get married, so you have to know how to read the pasuk. Yankov said, Tanoli es ishti, v'avoya elecha. It's don't read it elecha, but v'avoya el Yud K. I want to come to that Gilu Shechina. Okay. So something more right. Mitneima Amr Torah Hove Ofel L'Saita. What's up? The Maisa would bring water with earth. I mean, why? What's the idea behind this? So the Gemara says it's like, because Zochsa, if she's Zeicha and she comes out clean, Yaitza Mimena Ben Kavram Avinu, Diksiv Bei Ofa V'Eifa. Avram Misha Anochi Ofa V'Eifa. Vi is a boy Zocha is then tells her offer she will go back and she'll die and she'll be buried. Dorish Rava Darshan. Ischar Sha'amar Avram Avinu V'Nochi Ofa V'Eifa. Avram Avinu is saying Anochi Ofa V'Eifa, he was Zocha. That was a great thing to say such a thing about himself. He was Zocha Bonov L'Beis Mitzvahs. The Yidden was Zocha to two mitzvahs. What are the two mitzvahs? Eifa Pora V'Ofa Saita. the Efer of the Parah, that's the ashes of the Parah Duma, and the offer of the Saita. Practic Gemara, Bo'ekanami offer Kisu Adam. Why don't you say, just like there's offer by the Saita, there's offer by when you shecht a chicken or a chaya, you have to have a Kisu Adam. So the Gemara, Hosam over there, Hechsha Mitzvah Ika, Hano Leka. In other words, there's no one, you don't get any enjoyment from Kisu Adam.
Right.
You have to cover, it's a Hechsha Mitzvah, because there's a mitzvah to cover the blood. But over here, from these things, you have Hano. If the woman comes out clean, so they have Hano. Darashova. B'schar she'amar Avram Avinu im michut v'atzroich now. He said by when the Melech from offered him that he wanted to give him after the war with the Zdaim, with the Mulachim. So he said, Avram said, Ari Moisi Yodi Kel Elyon im michut v'atzroich now. If a thread or a shoelace is zocher bonim with base mitzvahs. What do mitzvah what I zeichem? Chut shel techeles in the tzitzis, or the tzuah shel tefillin, and the tzuahs of the tefillin. Said the Gemara, Bishleim eru tzuah shel tefillin, hoppen happens from them. What's hoppen? Because the state, the ksiv steht in Pasuk, v'ro kol amei aretz, ki shem Hashem nikol lechem. And where's the Shem Hashem is in the Ritzuas, in the Ritzuas Shayad and the Ritzuas Shorosh. V'tanya, Rabbi Gazal Gada Omer, Ego Tfilin Shabarosh. El Chutchat Cheles, Mahi. What's some say from the Chutchat Cheles? What does it do for them? Something more, the Sanya, Hoyer Amei Omer, Meine Standard Cheles, Mikol Mine Tzevainim. Why was Tchelis picked over all other? Why you could have made a red schnitzel? Why such a column? And the yam, the yam looks bluish, and the yam daimel rakia, rakia daimel rakisa covered, shenema vayaro as okay so v'tachas lav no masa libnas hasaper. Okay, etzem hashmayim l'toya. Say, l'mara even sapir, the most kisei that the kisei are covered. So you have that by seeing the tzitzis, you have a chance to see the kaviyachol.
Why we need to have a reason? It says in the Torah that should be.
But you're gaining something from it.
But what you're saying, if you give someone, I'm going to give you a present. $100, right?
Yeah.
And you give him $100 bill that's counterfeit. So did you give him anything?
No.
Yeah. Same thing over here. I'm giving you a present, chelos. What's up for them? What's that? You could see the Eibishter. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. Ain't a kaisef. You can't write the Megillah. Lo yal haluach. Ruach, Rashi says, is where you took some grasses, and from the grass they made paper. They made a type of a paper or a cloth. No, I'm sorry. Ruach is something made from
Eights. It says shalates.
Shalates. It's like a blackboard.
Yeah.
It's made from eights.
A plank of wood.
Nayor, we touch usually paper.
Paper, right.
But
Says that's
here that it
made
means where you took some vegetables and you made paper out of it. V'loy al hadiftera. Diftera means it's a hide of the animal. It's not oiskal, but it's not completely oiskal, but you can already write on it, but it's a piece of cloth, a piece of parchment. Ella al ha-Megillah. Megillah, so Rashi says, that means that it has shirtut. Shirtut, when you look in the Torah, you see there's lines over there. When they write a get, they made shirtut. So it has, over here has to have shirtut. Shenema, b'seifa. And it has to be like a sefer Torah. Ve'ena kaisav, you can't, the ink that you write with is loy b'kaiman. Kaiman, Rashi says, is the sap of a tree. The trees have liquids that they give, so they can make ink out of it. Loy, I think that Rebbe said that the Rebbe Tzachana, she made ink for.
But she made it out of berries.
Yeah, and Veloy bekan kantum. It gives French words for it, Rashi. Veloy bechol dova sharoshim. In other words, we want that you should write, and then later they erase it.
You don't want it
So it has to be not
sinks
an
into
ink
the
that
material.
sinks in. The ink should be
Otherwise
on top of it.
Right. Otherwise,
It says it can upspring in, but if it goes into, then you can't erase it.
Right.
Permanent marker.
Ella b'joy. B'joy means the ink that we use by the sofrim. Shenama, umocha. So it has to be ksav sheyachol limocha. It has to be a ksav that there could be erased. Something more Omer Rabbi said. Megillah said they should cost for B'layla. If they wrote it at night, it's psul, it's possible. My time, what's the reason? Asya Taira. By Doshtet by Xer Shabbat. Siv Halcha Doshtet B'Osel HaKain Es Kala Taira Hazais. Uksiv Hasam Apia Taira Asher Yerucham Val Mishpat. So Ma Mishpat, just like Mishpat is Bayayim, Af Megillah Saita has to be Bayayim. Ali Mar says Kosfol L'Mefreya. Kosfol L'Mefreya means he takes a piece of parchment and he starts from the end. He starts because he wants to make sure, like as he's going, he could tell Moshe how his space is going. If he has to make bigger or smaller, because otherwise he wouldn't have used the whole piece if it goes from the beginning. So Kosfol L'Mefreya, Psula, Ksiv, V'Kosav, Esa Olis, Ha'ela. Ki d'chsivi has to be, you have to write the way it's in the Torah. Kosva kodesh at the Kabbalah Shvua, if they prepared it, but she didn't say it, Amen. It's psula shenema, vishbia, first vishbia, v'achakach, v'kosov.
So that's what they do today? That's what they do, they first need a...
Today we don't have a Saita.
I mean a get. I forgot.
No, my get is
Sorry.
And then cost for Igeris. Igeris means without shirtut. Without shirtut. Sula is possible. Kaseifa. Like I say, Beseifa Amar Rachmana. The Torah says in a Seifa. And in a Seifa means a Sefer Torah has to be written with shirtut. Cost for Ashnei Dafen. If he wrote it on 2 pages, is also psula. Because Sefer Echad Amar Rachmana v'lo shnayim u'shlosh sforim. Kosav ois achas u'mocha ois achas. U'mocha ois achas. V'kosav ois achas u'mocha ois achas. In other words,
he's going to have to
normally
write
you have to write the whole thing and then erase. But he writes one letter and erases, one letter and erases. It's also psula. T'ksiv v'oso lo ha'kohen es kol ha'torah hazos. She has to give her the whole thing. So the boy Robert had a question. Kosav beis Megillas u'shtei Saitas. What if he wrote 2 Megillas for 2 Saitas? And then later, u'mochak l'toich kais echad. And then he puts them into 1 cup of water. So what's the question? The question is, Mahu, what's the din? Do we say Ksibu Shmo Be'ina V'Ha'ika, because it was written for these 2 Saitas, Oidilma be'ina nami mechika u'shma. And the mechika wasn't u'shma. Ve'im tim tzarema be'ina nami mechika u'shma. And if you say that mechika also has to be u'shma, machkam bebeis kaises v'chozer ve'irvan mahu. If he wrote it in two separate, in one case.
Scraped it off into two separate
And then he
cups.
scraped it into two cases. And then he mixed it together. So now, do we say mechika u'shma be'ina ba'ika? Oidilma halav dido kashasya v'halav dido kashasya. Each one of them maybe is bringing the other one's case. V'im timtzu laima halav dido kashasya v'halav dido kashasya. What's the din? Choza v'chilka mahu. If afterwards he divided it again, yesh breida or ein breida. Yesh breida means, do we say that it's huvra double that this was this one's and this is this one's or not? So on all these questions, the Gemara says teiko. Now, boy, Rabbi asked the question. Hishke b'siv. Sieve seems like is some type of a sponge-like. In other words, that they poured it into a sponge and she sucked it out of the sponge. Mahu, what's the din? Or b'sheferes, if she drank it with a straw, what's the din? Do we say deresh siya bekach, that this is considered drinking because she has to drink it? Oy, ain't derech siya bekach, or this is not just the way. So the Gemara teiko bleibt der Shaila. Boy Ravashi, so Ravashi asked the question, Nishbecho mehem v'nishtaydu mehem, Maho, what's the din? If part of it poured out, and she drank the remainder, so she didn't drink the whole thing, so is that good or no good? But the more take up, like the Shaila. Okay. Stop here.